Hello, dear ones. It's so good to be with you today. And in this span of the worship themes of being suffering and compassion, there's been a lot of conversation among the worship staff and the Pastoral Care program about the meaning of accompaniment. And certainly it's come into our sermons and our stories for all ages about what it is to accompany another human being. And I want to share with you that for the first time in American culture, the census shows that less than 50% said that they are involved in any religious community. That's mosques, that's temples, that's congregations, it's sanghas, it's any religious community. And that is the lowest number it's ever been in the history of our country. And it got me to thinking about the importance of accompaniment and what it is to be accompanied. And in the wonderful book, Counting on Kindness, the author Wendy Lustbader ends her book with this quote, or this paragraph. The expectation that we will be able to count on kindness during a time of need becomes one of life's most sustaining convictions. And that speaks to me about accompaniment. It's the understanding that when you are in need, there will be people who will show up and be with you and take care of you. So when tragedy strikes or a difficult time comes, who are the people that you turn to? Recently, when the Pastoral Care team met, I asked them to share an experience of when they had accompanied some person or people that had been deeply meaningful to them, and when had they been accompanied. And people shared the most wonderful stories. And I want to share one of my own stories with you. When Jonah was living through some of his hardest times with his terminal diagnosis of cancer, and Rob and I were suffering as his parents, a colleague who actually wasn't that good a friend at that time wrote me a card, and it said, just thinking of you, and it says, choose one, and it said, go out for coffee, go for a walk, talk on the phone, throw china against your garage wall. And that was one of the options, because it didn't have any pity in it, because it had a little touch of anger and out of controlness, which is exactly what I was feeling around our son's cancer. I felt liberated. And I called her up and I said, I want to throw china against the garage wall. And we laughed, and she came over, and we had the most wonderful afternoon together. We never wound up throwing the china against the garage wall. And she and I wound up forming a group of female colleagues that meet every single week now since the pandemic hit. And last spring, our last meeting in our backyard, when we were physically distanced and had masks on, I had a box of china that we were going to throw against the garage wall. We didn't realize that was going to be the last time we were there. We thought we had other chances because our house sold much quicker than we had imagined. But putting that box, sealing that box so that it could go to the Goodwill was actually one of the last boxes that I taped up, because it had been such a powerful image for me of what might be possible in accompaniment. And it became a metaphor for this group of colleagues that we could always be our true selves with one another, and how we talked about that was that we could always, in front of one another, throw china against the garage wall. And it sounds a little ridiculous, and of course we never did do it, but who can you rely on to be with you? Not with pity, not behind or in front of, but who can walk with you, who can be with you. And the last sentence of Counting on Kindness is, the measure of a good life is the care you receive at the end of life. And I'm so proud of the care that our elders receive, or those who are dying in the congregation, how there is a group of family and friends who rally around and are there, that these people can count on, who accompany them and who are there with them. And even in the midst of COVID, there has been that sense of accompaniment. When I'm doing a presentation on pastoral care to people contemplating getting involved at Unity Church, I often say, one of the most important parts of pastoral care is the invisible dimensions. The cards that get sent, the phone calls that are made, the hands that are held, the connections and accompaniment that occurs that I know nothing about. Of course, there is the formal program, which is based on accompaniment, but there are so many invisible acts of accompaniment. So after my message, I encourage you to think about when you have been accompanied and when you have accompanied, because that is part of the fabric of religious community. And I think one of the reasons why people are seeking out Unity Church during the pandemic, while we are live streaming and meeting on Zoom, because they realize that what they want and need in their life is a greater degree of accompaniment, a larger circle of people that they can count on to show up when they are in need. So again, think about accompaniment this week as we embrace this theme of compassion and kindness and its role in our life.